suit and tie and get your hair cut way up high. Get yourself a lawyer, son. You're gonna need a real good one.
David Whiting joins you. He is a Melbourne solicitor. He is here to provide you with some free legal advice. 1300 222 774 is the phone number. David, just before we get to your homework, the judgment yesterday, Bruce Lemons failed defamation action against Channel 10 and Lisa Wilkinson. What did you make of the judgment?
324 pages. I am truly overawed by the judge's enthusiasm and commitment to an outcome. I thought really well written. I think there's a lot of it in there. I mean, for the lawyers to make sure they do their job properly. And no, I think fantastic.
I want to get to the substance. He made these little asides. So Brittany Higgins is actually on a date, and the night in question, but the person she's on the date with leaves early. And the judge said something like he left, no doubt having regretted swiping right. So there's all these sort of literary flourishes.
See, if you
is
want
that
to go,
unusual?
If you want to go back, I mean, he made a couple of comments during the case, as did Justice Beach there's a huge case running in the federal court in relation to computer games.
Yep.
And the gateways for Google and Apple. And the question, what they put in those kinds of cases is, because back in the old days, you would actually have to tell the judge that The Age is a newspaper published in Melbourne.
Yeah.
It's kind of, yes, he's gone beyond that. So the problem is, in 20 years' time to understand Justice Lee's judgment,
yes,
you're going to need to have a social commentary next to you.
It was interesting.
Yes, but it makes it far more readable.
It does make it. Yes.
Yes.
And just on he essentially believed Brittany Higgins on the balance of probabilities on the events in question, was not as convinced about Channel 10's reporting. What did you make of sort of his central findings?
I learned a long time ago that the only person who's in a position to make a valid judgment is someone who heard all the evidence.
Everything, yeah.
So I say, Michael Lee is an incredibly impressive judge. I accept what he said. He heard it all. All I read was the snippets and the highlights from the newspapers.
It's worth reading. It's all there online. If you just look up Federal Court in Sydney, you can read it. Homework?
Federalcourt.gov.au.
Thank you very much.
Homework? Yes, I had Rachel calling from Ivanhoe, runs a yoga studio, and she's been paying her yoga instructors as casuals, which is fine. It's probably not fine, but let's say that's okay. The question arises is, does she have a superannuation guarantee obligation in relation to them? And the answer would be, I would have said that to all intents and purposes they are part-time employees or casual employees. Prior to the 1st of July 2022, if the amount you paid them was less than $450 a month, there was no superannuation guarantee contribution. But since July 2022, regardless of the amount that you pay them, you are obliged to make a superannuation contribution on their behalf. And no, you can't discharge your obligation by giving them the money to pay the super.
You've got to pay it into
you've got a separate obligation, different to your obligation to the person doing the work. And I'd be going off and getting some advice and seeing whether you need to put them on your payroll.
Good to know.
Yeah.
First up this morning, Lee is in Clonbinane. What's your query, Lee?
Yes, thank you for taking the call, David. Look, I have an issue with my insurer. I've had occasion to make the claim, and then throughout the process, it was eventually denied.
Yes.
And I believe the denial has been based off fraudulent evidence and, information.
So, but I'm only interested in your fraud, Lee. The allegation is fraud by you?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, you do have... No. So there's incorrect information provided to the insurance company that caused them to knock back your claim?
Yes.
Yep. You can go to VCAT. You can issue a claim at VCAT to dispute the outcome from the insurance company.
Right. Anywhere else?
There is, well, you can take them to court, but that's far more expensive. And depending on the insurance company, they often have a review process available to them. Some of them are, one of them is industry-wide, and other insurance companies don't participate in that but have their own review process. And you can probably also take a denial of a claim from an insurance company to AFCA, Australian, afca.org.au.
I have done that, or I will be doing that.
Yes.
But in a sense, it's not for the actual claim itself that I'm advocating, is the fact that they're using fraud, and that if my claim is not supported, then...
I don't understand. They are using fraud.
Well,
they being the insurance company?
Yes.
Right. Fraud, in order for you to say that the insurance company is using fraud, you've got to say effectively that they know the truth but are saying something else. Now, it could be that someone else is committing a fraud on the insurance company with the information they provide the insurer. But in order for me to be fraudulent in my behaviour with you, Lee, I need to know what the truth is and choose not to adopt it.
Okay, Lee.
Right. So if the insurance company could quite possibly be wrong on the basis that someone else's fraud has caused them to believe.
Good luck, Lee. There's various places you can take that one. George is in Box Hill South. What's your query, George?
Yes. Hi, David and Raph.
Hi.
I'm the executor of a deceased estate. I'm trying to determine the legal and beneficial ownership of a motor vehicle. Now, the legal ownership is by the deceased person, so it goes into the deceased estate.
Quite
but
possibly,
the beneficiary,
yes.
The beneficiary had a private family arrangement with the deceased since the end of 2017 and had exclusive use of the motor vehicle.
Right.
He also paid for the running costs of the vehicle.
Yeah. So it's, in a sense, Dad says to his second son, you can use the vehicle, you just have to pay all the bills, and if it's a ticket, it's yours. Sound about right?
Well, no. Dad said Dad paid for insurance and motor vehicle registration, and the beneficiary paid for servicing and fuel.
Yes.
So my question is, does this private family arrangement continue on into the deceased estate?
I would have thought not. I mean, I would have thought that, presumably Dad at some stage would have been able to take the car back if he wanted to. Dad would at some stage have been able to say, deal's finished, I've stopped paying.
Okay.
Your other option is someone has to argue that this relationship was going to continue for the life of the car.
Yes.
That's the bit you need to work out.
So in normal circumstances, you think that
in the normal
ends on
circumstances, you would expect that it would be an at-will arrangement. You can have it as long as I like to give it to you,
right? But
I can have it back at any point, unless someone can point to something else that says something different. George.
Okay.
So, yes, an at-will arrangement. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, George. And we've got another executor question, I think, from Kate in Fitzroy. What is it, Kate?
Oh, hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Yes, I'm on the other side. I'm a residual beneficiary of my mother's estate.
Yes.
And I've got one of my sisters is the sole executor. Unfortunately, the most unsuitable choice.
Your mother didn't think so.
No, but anyway, we won't go into that.
Yep.
Haven't got time for that one. Overall, she's been very. This is we're coming up to 2 years 18 months past probate, and nearly 2 years since my mother died. She won't communicate with the remaining residual beneficiary.
What was in the estate, Kate?
Her house and some shares.
Is the house been sold?
The house was sold without even notifying us.
Yes, no obligation to tell you, I'm afraid, Kate, but the house has been sold, yes.
Yeah, anyway, we're up to the situation where the money has been from the sale of the property has been there for over a year, and she's made a partial distribution to one of the residual beneficiaries, but the others now, she imposed a deadline for us to provide our details, but didn't tell us there was a deadline, and then after it passed told us that she wouldn't now be dealing with us for some months to come.
Yes.
And which I think is grossly unfair because it's, there's interest on this money.
So you're interested in trying to find a cheap way to get sort of enforce a distribution?
Well, I mean, what are one's options? I mean,
there is one option. It is hideously expensive.
Yeah.
And it's an application to the Supreme Court to remove the executor on the basis that the executor is not doing the job properly.
Right.
Now, that's going to cost, if all of the other beneficiaries were to jump on the bandwagon, it may be that the mere threat of the proceedings will encourage your sister to wrap up the administration of the estate.
Yeah. Would it be possible for us to get a lawyer and do something like a letter of demand?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we could go down that path.
Yeah, that in a sense, you're going to need to start that even if you never go or want to go to the Supreme Court. You can certainly go along and say, I'm here to enforce the terms of the will. But your problem is that's going to, I can see $30,000 or $40,000 just disappearing out the door.
Right, just even get a letter.
No. I'm assuming you're going all the way. What you really want to do is get the lawyer who writes the letter for you to set out precisely what the problem is and ask for the reasons why administration is not proceeding.
And see how you go.
Yeah.
And hopefully it won't cost a lot. Good luck, Kate.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
And Richard is in Eastern Kilda. Richard, what's your query?
This is about a water leak in a block of units, and basically the issue of where common property and unit owners' responsibility lies. We had a water leak. The initial investigation by the plumber was that it was a common property drainage issue.
Yep.
In a geyser. Further investigation involving a cherry picker and removing bricks seems like it's coming from my vanity in a pipe which is encased in concrete.
Yes.
So, can the OC, if it's deemed my responsibility, can the OC go after me for the bill without warning that I could be incurring a bill in the first place?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
What you need to, Richard, there's a couple of provisions in the Owners Corporation Act, and one of the things is that it allows the Owners Corporation to undertake emergency repairs.
Yep.
And include take entry to your property for the purpose of those emergency repairs, and then to recover the cost of that work from whoever is liable and whoever benefits. Now, I'm actually wondering, how old's your block of units in Eastern Kilda, Richard?
They'd be about 40 years old.
Then probably the boundary between your unit and the common property, or your unit and the next door neighbour, is the midpoint of the wall. So let's look at a more modern one and say the wall belongs to the Owners Corporation. Under the new plans of subdivision, you just get the right to look at the wall, paint it, and put holes for paintings on it. But the wall belongs to the Owners Corporation. In those circumstances, the question is, who's benefiting most from the work that we're doing? And they're the people who pay.
Well, it'd probably be the people underneath me.
Well, yes. So the question really is, where's the leak? Now, you tell me it's coming from a pipe encased in concrete. I say that's not your vanity. I say that your one argument is it's in the common property, that's your problem. That's where I'd start my discussion, Richard.
Okay.
Okay, so because it's encased in concrete.
No, because it's inside the common property.
You're hoping
It's
that's
not
in a wall that's
inside your
common,
unit.
not yours.
Yes, because you might have a brick internal wall and the pipe might be in that, and
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Good luck, Richard. We'll get to more calls. If you've got a legal query for David Whiting, give us a ring, 1300 222 774.
How heavy was the blueberry?
20.4 grams, about the size of a ping pong ball.
Did you eat it?
No.
Sammy J. You're, I guess, the coolest member of Parliament, since that's been voted the coolest street in the world.
I'm not sure that I contribute to it being cool, but I'm certainly very proud.
Breakfast.
Next time I'm on, I might just say there's only one good actor and Mel Street.
I don't know if you'll be invited back on based on some of the messages, Josh, but I tell you what, you've certainly done what you came here to do, which is get people talking.
Breakfast with Sammy J. Back this week on ABC Radio Melbourne.
This is ABC Radio Melbourne with Raph Epstein.
David Whiting is here to answer your questions, and Lisa is here as well, calling from Geelong. What's your query, Lisa?
I am a host through that company that shall remain nameless.
Yes.
Short stay
that doesn't need an advert. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Holiday accommodation. I'm in Geelong, which is a holiday area, and I lost some work late last year, and so I'm using it to help pay my mortgage. I live in my property. Sometimes I share with guests, and sometimes I move out and let guests stay in the
sometimes
house.
it's the whole of the property and sometimes it's part of the property. Yep.
Correct.
Yes.
Last week I had what I'm going to describe as a hostile guest. From the beginning, they tried to bring extra guests onto the property. They broke 6 of my 8 house ground rules. And then they also launched a series of vexatious complaints, completely unfounded, one of which is stuck now and I'm appealing, but it was basically the entire time they were attempting to reduce the price of their accommodation.
Yes.
I've been in endless communication with the company to varying degrees of assistance, but I'd like some independent advice as well.
So what's the question, Lucy?
Okay, sorry. What are my legal entitlements in terms of those vexatious complaints is the first one. And then the second one is, what are my rights in regards to my personal safety? It got to the point where they were refusing to leave my property and also have been doing drive-bys of my house since
Step at a
then.
time. In the event that this person has caused you loss and damage, you have an action against them. You have actions in defamation, and we've just seen a monstrous defamation case run. So if they're putting something on a website which is untrue, then you have the right to take them to court. You start with a concerns notice, and then your defamation proceedings, hideously expensive. Be cheaper to buy a new house.
Yep.
If you're concerned about your personal safety, then you have the right to bring the occupancy agreement to an end, and I would then be talking to the police about getting them to evict them because of your concerns
Are they still
for your
there?
personal safety.
No,
No,
they
okay, they're
did
gone.
eventually leave, and I did report the drive-bys to the local police station,
Yes.
and they've kept the notes on file.
And if that continues,
and I've
then
also
it might
submitted-
be that you have grounds for an intervention order application, personal safety.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. So in terms of launching compensation claim, I've appealed all of their extra charges through the system.
Yes.
But I would like to, I'm keeping a record of all my time. I lost work last week because of my time spent.
You are
responding to all the-
unlikely to get compensation for the personal time that you put into dealing with the issue.
Right.
I wouldn't even try.
Okay.
Okay. Do they answer all your questions, Lisa?
Can I just clarify what compensation is legitimate? Is that property? Is that
If they damage something in your property, yes, you would be entitled to a claim. You're entitled to make a claim.
services that they haven't paid for?
I'm sorry?
Use of services that they haven't paid for, such as luggage, leaving luggage on the property.
But there's been no agreement you've not agreed a rate for them to leave the luggage on your property. So you would need to come along and say, well, my loss as a consequence of the bag being left here is X.
Okay.
I would be putting it down to experience and be fussier, Lisa.
Yeah, I'm going to. Don't worry. And I've blocked out my calendar for the next month.
Yeah, good on you. Good luck, Lisa. A lot of people are being advised to start with a lawyer's letter. Hopefully that makes a difference and doesn't go on to other costs. Yes, defamation costs. Even small-scale defamation. Big. Yes. Philip's in Hampton. Philip, what's your query?
Oh, g'day. Thanks, guys. We've got a bush block, sort of west of Geelong, and there's a guy now who's, well, for as far as we know, has been living on the site for about 2 years, probably since post-COVID, and he's established quite a decent little campsite, with humpy and timber structures, and he's also trying to sell our firewood from the bush block on Facebook. And I was wondering, I know, it's quite surprising. And the neighbours actually reported it to us, and they took photos and sent them through. It's quite a setup. So I'm just wondering, what would your advice be, Dave, to try to remove?
Well, you don't have it's not a residential tenancy, so it's not a VCAT issue.
Uh-huh.
So you're probably at the county court with an order for possession, or it may well be. Well, what's the value of your bush block, Philip?
Oh, a few $100,000.
Then you're probably outside the magistrate's court. I would be looking at the county court, or it might be that in the magistrate's court you could get an order to stop him selling, but I just don't see you're going to be able to get an order for possession in the magistrate's court for your property. So what you're looking for is an order that the sheriff throw him off.
Okay, and
remember, he's in a humpy. He's probably got no money.
Yeah, I know. He's getting his post redirected to someone down the road, and the police apparently said they can't do anything. Is that true?
Oh, look, I'm very mindful that we don't have that many police for one to just manage your block in the bush, Philip. I think on my reading of the numbers, there's about 2,000 police in Victoria. What have we got, 6 million people?
More than 2, but anyway. It's close to 5, isn't there? But not enough to do that sort of
work. No, but on duty at any time on a 24-hour cycle, we've got 20,000 police.
Yeah.
But when you look at their leave entitlements and everything else, they're 2,500 at any one time. My view, Philip, is you would be so low a priority.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's...
But a lawyer's letter also is unlikely to persuade someone like that. Like, you're going to have to go to court, aren't you?
Well, he's not going to acquire any more property rights for another 10 years, Philip, but by that stage all of your firewood might be gone.
That's right.
Correct.
Yes. No easy answer, Philip.
So county court?
County court.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Good luck, Philip. Does not sound easy at all. Caitlin, you're in Blairgowrie. What's your query?
So we were wondering about how to do a VCAT claim when you don't have the person's residential address.
What's the nature of your claim, Caitlin?
My husband's a tradie and he has a few couple $1,000 unpaid invoices.
Yes.
And being the area that we live in, they're holiday houses, so we don't have the address of the people.
Person who owns the house, do a title search on the holiday house.
Do a title search, okay.
And that will almost always show you the residential address of the person who owns the house at the time they bought it.
Okay.
So you can do it online, landdata.vic.gov.au, title search, and then take it, and then will almost inevitably give you an address, but there will be a name on it. And if the name matches the person you want to pay to do the work, that's where I'd start.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Gee, that was easy.
Well, it might not be, but still, it's an easy start.
But
Still,
from my point of view,
$25 or so, land title search? I haven't done one for a while.
No, since they've privatised it, I reckon costs have gone up 30-40%.
Oh, so like 50.
You'd be at 40. But sorry, from Caitlin's point of view, you need to pay a search fee to get the title details.
Yeah.
So put in the address, you pay, I think it's $18 or $19 to get that, and then I think it's about $24, $28 to actually work out whose name's on the title.
Worth doing if you're pursuing a debt. And Justin is in Hawthorn. What's your query, Justin?
Hello, David.
Justin.
My question's about owners' corporations and their committees. I live in a strata title unit in Hawthorn, and I'd like to replace my external windows and doors, and I just wanted to know whether the owners' corporation have the power and the authority to stipulate what materials are used. They've stipulated that timber and aluminium are allowed and PVC is not. Is that?
It's quite possible that that's right, Justin. You also need to work out which bit of the unit belongs to you and which bit of the unit belongs to the owners corporation. As a general proposition, I mean, if you've got one of those units with a front yard, then it's quite possible that your wall is your window is an internal window. But if you're in most of them, that's the exterior face of the building and belongs to the OC.
Okay, all right, that's perfect. I just want to get some clarification. Thank you for your advice.
There you go. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Justin. No homework.
No homework.
Okay. There you go. Feet up.
Nothing to do.
Slippers on. Good. Go and read those 324 pages of Justice Michael Lee.
I've got nothing else to do, you're right.
David Whiting is here each Tuesday offering you some free legal advice.